My name is Harold Taliaferro Smith Jr., also known as H.T. Smith. I was born in the Christian Hospital, which was the hospital over town for colored people. And my mother and I left the hospital and went to our shotgun shack owned by my grandmother at 1420 Northwest First Place. And that's where my story began. And so I remember the rough and tumble of growing up in Overtown. And I had an uncle, really a granduncle, my grandmother's brother, who owned Polite's restaurant exactly 2 blocks from where we're sitting today. And it was the popular soul food restaurant for the stars, the entertainers, as well as the politicians and famous people. And I got a chance to be amidst a lot of people who were positive influences on me. I lived in my grandmother's home until I was 8, down in Richmond Heights. They started building homes for veterans, and my father ran down, and they were building 1 block at a time, and I think we bought on the 3rd block, and it was just a total different life experience. Surprised, 3-bedroom homes, because the little shotgun shack we lived in, 1 bathroom and 2 rooms. My grandmother, my mother, my father, and 4 of us. There wasn't very much room in that house, so we moved down to Richmond Heights. I was not involved at all in high school in any type of civil rights related activities, whether it was direct action or whether it was in terms of marches, in terms of letter writing, nothing. I would find out after the fact. In the newspaper, the Miami Times was reporting once a week. So I would hear that there was a march or there was a demonstration, and I would say, I missed another one, So I went off to school really upset with myself that I had, it's like here is a major movement for my people going on, and I'm not in it. So when I got up to FAMU, I said, all right, here we go. We're in the game now. Right as soon as I got there, people started coming through the speak, like H. Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael and Jesse Jackson and John Lewis. And I said, whoa, this place is on fire. I'm in the right place. And so it was, it's the 60s. We were going to organize rallies. We were going to demonstrations. We were going to marches. It was very exciting. FAMU required, and I guess most of the historically black colleges and universities at the time required all male students to take military science. I was a pretty good student in military science, and so they came to me, you really did good in school. What we'd like to do is give you a full scholarship. So I took the scholarship, and as you know, when I graduated, they said, okay, you ready? We're going to send you a year to prepare to lead men in combat and a year to go to Vietnam and actually do it. And that's what happened. So it was really a trying time where I grew up as a human being. FAMU caused me to learn who I was as a black man in America. Vietnam War taught me about courage, about true leadership, and about understanding how to deal with fear. Get back in Miami. Happy to be back in Miami, trying to get in the flow of things. Had PTSD, but it was undiagnosed. I knew something was wrong, but they hadn't diagnosed it. Person across the street from me was a math major. So I went over and we hugged. I'm back in town, etc. Hey, I'm ready to get to work. You have a math degree too. Can you help me get a job? And he said, I'm going to law school. I said, well, Howard? He said, no, University of Miami. I said, you got to be joking me. I only been going 2 years. University of Miami is admitting black students in law school? He said, yeah, this is the first class. I said, great, thanks, man. I'm going to be in that class. He said, look, I don't want to bust your bubble, but this is August. The class was closed in April. School starts in 2 weeks. I said, I don't give a damn. I'm being in this class. So the next day, went up, knocked on the dean's office, went inside, and the young lady said, may I help you? I said, yep, my name is Harold Taliaferro Smith. I'm here to go to law school. She said, well, application is right over there. I went over and picked the application. It was for next year. I said, no, you misunderstood me. I want to be in this class. She said, sir, this class is closed. Law school starts in 2 weeks. I said, well, I need to speak to the dean. 2.5 hours later, the dean came out to humor me. I didn't know at the time. Hello there. Harold, right? Yeah, Harold. I'm Dean Tommy Thomas. So I said, Dean, you seem like a gentleman. Let's go in your office and sit down like 2 minutes. Let's talk. He said, sure. Came in. And so I said, well, Dean, let me tell you my story. And maybe 10 o'clock that night, we came up with a letter basically said, you will be admitted to law school, but you must take the next LSAT. You must bring us all the things you need. Right after that, I wrote an article in the student newspaper about how racist the school was. And I came in to see him. He said, Harold, did you write that? I said, yes, Dean. He said, but nobody's ever gotten in law school like this before. How can you say we're racist? I said, I'm just one person. I say there's no black professors. There's no black staff. No. You can't just do it for the 8 of us that's in school. The only time we see other black people is when we come at night and see the cleaning staff. And isn't this why I'm coming to law school? To learn, to fight for my people? You tell me I shouldn't start until I graduate from here? My last class in law school was a class with a man by the name of Philip Hubbard, who was the public defender. Well, when I graduated, no black lawyer had ever been hired by a law firm, and of all the public law officers, only 3 had hired blacks. And so Phil Hubbard became the public defender, and he offered me a job. I didn't know I was the first. Going to the public defender's office, the first thing I saw was that everything in the court was white. The only black things in the court were me, my client, and the judge's robe. And it was a very hostile environment. But again, it was more hostile than Vietnam. So I was the right person. I could handle it. Were there racists there? Yeah, they're everywhere. But what really counted in the public defender's office, did you have the courage to go to trial and to prepare and fight for clients who were despised, clients who, most of them were black, who were despised, who were discriminated against because of their color, etc., with everybody in the courtroom against you and rooting against you, and still win. Man, it was the best experience I could have possibly have with the best trial lawyers in America, not just Florida, in America. So that was the launching pad for me. I went to law school once I got there and saw the type of knowledge that was being imparted to me. I realized that as a lawyer, I'm being trained to lead. And then when I got out, I was called to serve my community. So from the very first day I got out, I was vice president of the NACP for 5 years. I was president of Black Lawyers for 4 consecutive years. And you name something that was going on, I was involved in it for my community. I had already heard, but I began doing a lot of reading on a leader in South Africa by the name of Nelson Mandela. And the more I read about him, the more I was just fascinated with this individual and the fact that he basically was prepared to give his life for his people. And I then found out about the Free South Africa movement. I joined the Free South Africa movement in South Florida. It was called the Coalition for a Free South Africa. I said, look, first of all, we need to establish some guiding principles, all right? One, we've got to be strategic because the people we're we're fighting against have all the advantages of money, of prestige, of power, of meat, you name it all. We must have impeccable integrity. That undermine everything. 3, we have to have consistency. 4, we have to have transparency with ourselves and the people. And 5, we must have a dogged determination not to be outworked. And so we took those principles and we just said, hey, we're going to stop the sale of Krugerrands, which was the gold coin for the South African government. We stopped all that in Miami. We had disinvestment by corporations, but mostly governmental entities and schools disinvested. And so we put a dent in all of that. I look up February 11th, 1990, and there on television is Nelson and Winnie Mandela free. Well, in June, Mandela came to America to thank the individuals and institutions that supported the Free South Africa movement, supported the African National Congress, because the United States government was on the side of apartheid and hate. On the way to Miami, the city of Miami had voted for a proclamation, and they were about to vote for Key to the City, and Mandela was on Nightline. And he was saying that after he leaves here, he was going to go to Cuba or something like that. Oh man, it went crazy. And so the mayor then, Xavier Suarez, the father of the current mayor, basically said, unless he apologizes and denounces Castro, that they were going to withdraw the proclamation, and he's not welcome. And Mandela basically said, Castro is your enemy. He stood with us in our darkest hours. That would be the height of ingratitude to do that, and I'm not doing it. And so they withdrew the proclamation, and so Mandela came, and I got a call from the AFL-CIO, which was having their international meeting on Miami Beach, and said, hey, Mandela's going to speak here, and you've been involved in the Free South Africa movement, and we'd like to invite you. Really? Yeah. So I'm on the back row, and Mandela gives a speech, and this place is, it's live. It's on fire. And he finishes, and then they say, well, let's introduce a few people to the Mandelas. Congresswoman Carrie Meek, yay, and this person, yay, and the head of the Free South Africa movement here, H.T. Smith. I stand up, I wave, and Mandela does like this. Whoa, that's to me. And so I get ready, I'm on the corner, I get ready to step out. Security blocks me. And I knocked his hand off and ran to the front. And when I got to the front, now I'm walking toward Nelson Mandela. This has got to be a dream. He grabs me and hugs me. Oh, my goodness. I was floating. His first word to me was comrade. He said, Comrade Smith, thank you for standing with us in our darkest days. I've heard about you on the way here. I heard about you. I really, really, on behalf of the people of South Africa, appreciate it. So the next day I get a call like 5:30 in the morning. And it's a lawyer friend of mine. He said, have you seen the newspaper? I said, no. Get the newspaper. I get the newspaper, Miami Herald. I walk aside, and there's a picture of me and Mandela hugging on the front page above the fold. And he says to me, my friend, you have been kissed by history. And as soon as he said that, I thought about kissed by history. I got an obligation. So we started getting faxes at the time. So this is 1990. What the hell's wrong with you people in Miami? Nelson Mandela come here and you snub like that? And what the hell y'all gonna do about it? Well, there was a meeting of black lawyers nationally scheduled to come to Miami in 1993. And so I convened all the black lawyers and said, let's tell the national office, we're not hosting. So y'all gotta go somewhere else. And then, it will be a way to show them that we're just not going to take this sitting down. We don't have any money. We don't have any power. We're not going to give them our money. So I said, but look, let's look for something we have leverage. I don't want to lose. Because I hadn't seen anything in the past where blacks had taken on the system in a big way, and the system fought back, and we won. So we started doing our research, and we found out that the year before, $5 billion had been brought in by tourists, and 20% was blacks. Well, 20% of $5 billion is $1 billion. That's our leverage. We say, well, look, we don't have a lot of money to put our story out, so let's really think about what we're going to call ourselves. We're thinking about a boycott. Let's call ourselves Boycott Miami. So every time the press reported on us, simultaneously, they were advocating what we wanted people to do. We don't even have to pay for the publicity. And so we had announced the boycott July 17th, and my fax machine almost broke with organizations around the country said, hey, count me in. And so what was happening is the Convention and Visitors Bureau had these leads, and almost all of them were drying up. For 1,000 days, not one black organization came, and they never released the records of how many white organizations backed out. They hadn't put money down, but they said they were coming. It was a lead, and they didn't do it. So it was absolutely wonderful. So the first 6 months, we tried to call and meet with them. Who are you? So we said, when they're ready to negotiate, for however long they won't talk to us, that's how long we're not going to talk to them. It was close to 6 months. So Miami Herald did an article, if you look, you'll find it, maybe 18 months in, where they documented $50 million worth of lost business, and that's when we got the call. The boycott was important because a lot of people who were outside our community didn't realize and appreciate the pride, because this is something we did ourselves. When we organized, we said the following. Our mantra was respect. Respect black leaders, respect black people, and respect our hard-earned dollars. It was just a source of pride. And so that's the part that people really don't understand, because the community needed a victory. Not a victory where it was done for us, a victory that was done by us. We have a good cadre of black men and women, African American and Caribbean American. And so we're building bridges and finding common ground. I feel very, very positive about this next decade. The young generation is better educated and better situated. There's no reason why they shouldn't do better than we did.